Okay, I'd like to start the Tiverton Town Council meeting of Monday, April 12th, 2021. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic
for
which
it
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joan, roll call, please.
Counselor Edwards.
Here.
Counselor Vieira.
Here.
Counselor Janik.
Here.
Counselor Burke.
Here.
Counselor Perry.
Here.
Counselor Cook.
Here.
Counselor DiMederos.
Here.
All present.
Consent agenda. A, approval of town council minutes, March 22nd, 2021, regular session, March 29th, 2021, regular session, March 29th, 2021, executive session. Acknowledge receipt of minutes from boards, commissions, committee, open space and preservation. 1, cemetery commission. 1, acknowledge receipts of reports, town administrator, department monthly reports, March 2021, police and fire department overtime reports, March 2021. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence, town of Barrington, resolution in support of H5445 and S0089 to pass the act on climate bills in the Rhode Island General Assembly. Town of Barrington, resolution in support of H5257 S0121 to prevent discrimination against lawful sources of income. Would anyone like to take anything from the consent agenda?
I would.
Donna?
Yeah, I want to pull A2.
Okay. Anyone else? I'd like to entertain a motion to approve for B, C, D, A1, and 3.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Perry. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. 4A2, March 29th, 2021, regular session. Councilor Cook?
I just want to say that I don't want to vote in tandem with everything else because I just have a problem with that whole thing with what we spoke about in closed session, what happened, and it seems discussion purposes only it doesn't seem right to me. So you can have a vote, but I'm going to vote no.
Is that A3 executive session or the regular session? I get it.
The
A2.
executive session is correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I
All right. Anybody want to comment on A2?
I'm not understanding what Donna's saying.
Donna is saying.
I'm saying that it's not being truthful as to what we really spoke about, and I don't want to take part in that.
Not A2. You're talking about number 10 on the minutes?
No, I'm talking about we're talking about the executive session. The whole thing's the minutes, so I have to say no to the minutes.
So what she's saying is when we came out in executive and we said a discussion held, am I right, Donna?
Right, the discussion for purposes only is a little disingenuous to me, so I want to say no, I'm not going to go along with any of it.
Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve for A2.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second
second?
it.
So, motion's been made and seconded to approve 4A2 by Counselor Burke, seconded by Counselor Edwards. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes,
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
No.
and I'm a yes. The vote is 6 yes, 1 no. Public comments regarding council agenda items or other town businesses, comments received. We did receive one by email. I would think you all got it. It's April 11th, 2021. Miss Shabbat, per our phone conversation on April 9th, the note is in response to the request for a variance for Tina Toasty, 253 Holly Circle. We have no issue with her request for variance. Sincerely, at Edward and Gail Silva. Is there any other public comment?
There were no other public comments.
Is there anyone in the attendees? Or would anyone like to dial in? Okay, move on. Board of licenses, Colleen Hoy, Atlantic Farm Market and Eatery LLC, 28 Crandall Road. Request approval of victoring license. Is Mrs. Hoy here? I don't see her.
Madam Chair, is that 28 or 2B?
2B, I believe.
What?
Is that 28 or 2B? It's 2B,
Oh,
Crandall.
it's two
2B
Bravo.
Crandall
Two
Road,
Bravo.
yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My eyes are getting old.
I had the same problem.
Yeah, I swore that was a 28. So it's opening a new seafood market and limited restaurant. I'm not quite sure where this is.
I think it's where the Sip and Dip is,
Oh,
Was.
that's it. Okay.
or was.
I
And
think
then
it's
it
where
was-
maybe where the panda used to be.
When
Yes.
I looked up the, when I
Yes,
looked
that's
up
exactly where
the,
it is.
when I looked up the address and plat number and all that, that's what it turned out to be.
So I understood that was a restaurant, but that's a seafood market also?
Looks like it's a,
look like it's both, but a limited restaurant. She does have her menu.
I see it.
Well. it's
I
not
didn't
all that-
actually go to it to look, but
eat in or carry out.
She has cheesecake too.
I know, I just noticed. Any questions from the council?
well, I just have one. So it was Sip and Dip?
No.
Oh,
This was the bakery.
And then, so it's a big building, so are they just expanding the
No,
use?
Sip and Dip is on one side. So when you're looking at the building, Sip and Dip is on the left. The bakery was the whole entire right side.
So the bakery went away?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. I would imagine it's meeting all legal requirements, Joan.
Yes,
There's no liquor license. There is just,
well, this is just the victoring license.
okay.
Okay. Any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I will make a motion for the approval of the victualizing license for Atlantic Farms Market and Eatery LLC located at 2B Crandall Road.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Motion's been made by Counselor Edwards, seconded by Counselor Vieira. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
yes.
Counselor Janik,
yes,
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes,
and I'm a yes, unanimous.
And Colleen, we wish you well.
I really like the menu, by the way.
Yeah, it looks good.
I do too. I do too.
And I can walk there from my house, so I'm happy. All right, public hearings. 7A, Lee McLaurin, 30 Lake Road, request approval of sound variance for wedding on September 4th, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., subject to meeting all legal requirements. My question with this is, we usually grant it till 10 p.m. because of the ordinance. We usually don't go to 11. Is that true? Anyone want to comment?
Madam President, the application looks like it says 3 to 7.
It does.
Well, on here it says 4 to 11.
Our wedding is scheduled from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Not 11?
No, we'll be in bed by then.
Okay. Are you Lee?
Yeah, hi,
Welcome,
thank you.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? You have about 80 people coming?
Yep, so we have about 80 people, family and friends. We are just doing, Got a Queue is coming out and catering for us. Just kind of a nice, very low key barbecue outside, sunflowers, gingham, all that sort of stuff. And this is my fiance, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, so, and that's my parents' backyard. So they are hosting us. So we're getting a tent and everything.
Can we come?
Yeah. You like barbecue?
Yeah.
Will there be music?
Yes.
A band or?
Nope, we're just gonna have music playing.
Okay. Any questions?
I do have a question, and I know it's not part of the variance that we're hearing, but I'm just looking at the reopening of Rhode Island. It says that outdoor events, 75 for a catered event. Is that where we still are at 75? Because we have here expected number is 80. I know that they're changing the numbers all the time.
I believe that number has been increased.
I do
This is
too.
as of, this guidance is as of 11/2020.
Right, it is older.
I believe it's more.
Well, and also Deb, we're looking at September.
Yep,
And
I
not down
totally
by
understand that. I just
September.
wanted to put it on the radar just so that Lee doesn't have a, somebody come to make 5 people leave. during her wedding.
Yeah,
So,
I
How
thought
about
I
a
seen
clicker?
something for 125 for outside.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
thought
think.
it was more because I thought,
So-
I get Rhode Island and Mass mixed up. I think it's 100 indoor now.
Something like
Yeah, I
that.
think it's 125 outside.
Okay.
I
Well,
think-
Lee, of course you understand that we're dealing in the COVID world, so.
So here, beginning 3/19, 75% up to 100 people indoors and 200 people outdoors for
Yeah.
catered events.
There
Oh,
you go.
You can still invite all of us too.
There we go. That's the important part.
That's for outside. That's for out. So you could even have more and put the rest inside. And
Oh, yeah, I never even thought of that. You
There
could
you go.
actually have 300. As long as they
No, that's
don't all
okay.
works for
stay in the
me.
same area. All right, any questions for Lee and her fiance? All right, then I'd like to entertain a motion.
Is there anybody, I think we got this is a call-in. Do we have anybody in the waiting
It's a
room?
public hearing, so you're right, yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to open up the public hearing. Anyone would like to speak and you can call in.
So you can call in at 877-853-5247. You'll need the meeting ID number of 831-1015-8669 and the PIN of 560638. If anybody in the waiting room or the attendee room wants to speak, please raise your hand.
While we're waiting for that, it does say on the application that the cousin's property is next door, Winston Gray, and they're okay, him and his wife Lynette.
Yep.
So We've
They'll
already
probably
got,
be at the wedding.
They better be.
They'd be upset if they weren't invited, I think.
So I'd imagine they'd be fine with this.
Yeah, yeah.
And anybody who wants to call in can call in at 877-853-5247. The meeting ID number is 831-1015, 8669 with a PIN of 560638. And if anybody in the attendee room would like to speak, please raise your hand. We'll give it one more minute, Madam Chair, and
Yep.
we can close the public hearing on this topic.
I know.
One more.
No, thank you for pointing that out.
Just so you approve this, make sure you approve it with the hours from 3 to 7 p.m. as
Yes.
stated in the
Yeah, I
application.
know. Mhm. Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing. Now I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
I will make the motion. We request a sound variance for a wedding on September 4th, 2021, the hours of 3 to 7 p.m. at 30 Lake Road.
Second,
Is it 3 to 7?
3 to
Yeah,
7.
okay,
That's
Yeah,
what's
they're
on the
going to bed at
application.
7:30.
yep. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes,
Counselor Janik,
yes,
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes,
Counselor Cook.
Yes.
Did I forget anyone? No, and I'm a yes. Congratulations. and,
congratulations.
I hope everything goes well.
Thank
good
you,
luck. Good luck.
everyone.
Okay. Next public hearing is Tina Toasty, 253 Holy Circle. Request approval of sound variance for wedding on September 25th, 2021, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., subject to meeting all legal requirements. I know that Tina's here. Can we
Yeah,
bring her in?
I'm bringing her in.
Okay.
We're gonna have lots of weddings in Tiverton this year.
Yeah, I think it's better to have it in your house at this point.
Yeah,
Hi, Tina. Oh, hi, Tina. I know Tina. Now that I see her, I didn't know you were Tina Toasty. Tina, would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
You're on mute, Tina.
You're on mute, honey.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, we're just planning on having it's really going to be a small, just our close family and friends outside in our yard on September 25th. And we
Okay.
are planning on having a DJ, and that's why we asked for the sound variance.
Yep. Any questions? All right, I'd like to open the public hearing at this time. If anyone has anything to share, please participate now. Chris, you want to read the numbers again?
Okay, anybody's in the attendee room, you can raise your hand if you want to speak. The phone number is 877-853-5247. The meeting ID number is 831-1015-8669 with the passcode of 560638. I see no hands in the attendee room.
Yeah, I see
did-
no hands.
we did receive a letter.
question for Tina, will you be having barbecue? Because if not, I think I gotta go invite myself to Leah's.
There are two different dates.
We are
Yeah,
not
you
doing
could go to,
barbecue.
Bill, you could actually go to
Go
both.
to both?
Yeah, but I don't want to have barbecue with both. You know?
She's having seafood, though. They're having seafood.
Oh, okay, good.
There will be seafood.
So Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Yes,
On your application, you say that you're looking for a DJ for 5 hours, but the event is from 5 to 10. But your event is from 4 to 10. Is there noise like any kind of procession music or something like that?
Yeah, we were thinking about actually having someone play an acoustic guitar just for for me walking in, and that's it. And then
So,
the DJ would
I'm
come
just
in.
asking so that when the
I don't know if
chair
you need it.
does the sound, that you do it from 4 PM to 10 PM instead of from 5 PM?
That'd probably be a good idea.
Now, Mike, if it doesn't reach the allowed decimals, they don't even need a variance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Because I doubt an acoustic guitar is gonna reach that decimal, but
I would hope not.
I hope not. I mean, it won't. Could be quite the jam. So we could change it from 4 to 10.
The application does say from 4 to 10.
It doesn't matter.
It says 5 to 10. The application does say 4. You're right.
Yeah, if we give them 4 to 10, does it really matter?
No.
So I'll read
Give
the
a
numbers
little-
one more time. If anybody would like to call in, it's 877-853-5247. The meeting ID is 831-1015-8669. And the PIN is 560638. Again, anybody in the attendee room would like to speak, please raise your hand.
We did receive a letter from Edward and Gail Silva,
Yeah, I read it, Deb.
so, okay.
Yeah, I read it at the open that they, I would imagine they're the abutters.
They're happy with it.
They're probably going to the wedding too. No, I'm only kidding.
Madam Chair, at this point, I think you can close the public hearing portion.
All right, I'd like to close the public hearing portion and entertain a motion. Donna?
Donna has a question.
I'm just looking at the 80 to 100 people.
Yeah,
Is that okay? I mean,
yeah, that's allowed.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
It'll be in
so-
September. Right now, it's at 200.
yeah, 200 people outdoors.
oh, good, okay.
And of course, everyone knows that we're approving this. If God forbid something was to happen and we have a fourth wave of COVID and it decreases, well, then we'll have to relook at this. But knock on wood, that's not going to happen. So
Don't jinx it.
no, I'm pretty convinced. Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion.
You want me to do this again?
Yes, please.
Good.
Okay.
You're doing such a good job.
Make a motion that we approve a wedding sound variance for September 25th, 2021 at 253 Holly Circle from the hours of 4 PM to 10 PM.
Second.
I'm going to give it to Bill because Joe, you were late.
That's fine.
The motion's been
Better
made.
late than not at all.
There you go.
Motion's been made and seconded by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Vieira. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes,
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Congratulations. to-
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, moving on. Appointments and resignation, committee, 4 members, 3 two-year terms and 2 one-year term, 1 vacancy. For Barbara Pelletier, 104 Bonniefield Drive, request reappointment to expire 4/15/2023. So this is the 3-year term, the 2-year term. Any questions?
I'll ask one question. When we've done this before, we had to go through the rigmarole of not following past procedure. Can we
Yep, I need a
just-
motion for that.
Can we just do that for all of them at once?
Well, we usually do it for reappointments. So as long as all these are reappointments, which they look like they
No.
are.
No, they're not.
He is not.
Rodriguez is an
One's an
appointment.
appointment.
Which
They're
one
not.
are you looking at?
D, litter committee.
Yeah, you're right.
Nor is C.
All right,
C
so
number
now, Jay, we
2.
have to do it one at a
Oh,
time.
yeah.
All right, I was just trying to ease the thing.
I'll make a motion. We waive our normal policy for
Have a
the
second?
Arts Committee.
I'll second.
Motion's been made in second to waive our protocol. Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. I entertain a motion for Barbara Pelletier.
So
So
moved.
moved.
A motion's been made by Counselor Perry, seconded by Counselor Janik. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Madam President,
Yes,
so to speed things on and waiving the policy, you could ask you for unanimous consent that the appointment policy be waived for each appointment, and so, and if no one objects, then it's just unanimous. So you don't have to take a roll call on that, and the minutes can reflect that.
all right, but each reappointment.
On reappointment, I'm sorry, yes, you're correct.
So I'd like to take a unanimous consent on waiving our policy for all the agenda items for reappointment.
So moved.
Moved.
Are there any objections? Just ask, are there any
Are there
objections?
any objections?
Hearing none, then it passes. Thank you.
I've never done unanimous consent, but I see Joe
I
seem
never
to
did.
do it all the time, so. All right, Cemetery Commission, 5-member board, 3-year terms, 2 vacancies. Alfred Almeida, 434 Bugamarsh Road, request reappointment to expire 4/15/2024. And he isn't here, right?
No.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Alfred Almeida, 434 Bugamarsh Road, to the Cemetery Commission from 4/15 to up until 4/15/2024.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Open space, 9-member board, 3-year term, 3 vacancies. Martin Van Hoff, 170 Bugamarsh, request reappointment to expire 4/15/2024. And Susan Rodriguez, 80 Leonard Drive, request appointment to expire 4/15/2024. I do have a question about this. This has been advertised for months now. There's 3 vacancies and there's only 2 people apply. So we have in the past waived our policy for an appointment when there's not enough people per vacancies. We can do that if we'd like. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can ask for unanimous consent again, Madam President.
Yep, I know. So as long as that's all right, like
I'll
you
make
said-
that motion.
Well,
No,
no,
I'll second
all
it.
I have to do is a unanimous consent and ask if there's any objections.
I'll make that motion. Unanimous consent.
Well, then it passes. Okay, so is Susan here?
No, she is not.
Okay. Okay,
She was on the open space.
I do know
Was.
Susan.
In
and-
the
Yeah,
past.
she was.
Yeah, I do know Susan and she's very involved in,
Yeah,
well, she
Mhm.
was in the past.
right.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Madam President,
At the same time?
go ahead, Deb.
Okay, I'm just wondering, can we make a motion for both of them at the same time?
Yes.
We can.
Okay.
Mike, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna just make a motion.
Go ahead, Mike.
Move approval of Martin Van Hoff, 170 Bugamarsh, to a reappointment to the Open Space Commission to expire 4/15/2024. And for Susan Rodriguez, 80 Leonard Drive, for appointment to the Open Space Committee to expire 4/15/2024.
Right.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next one, Litter Committee, 5-member board, 5-year term, 1 vacancy, Joyce M. Andrews, request appointment to expire 10/15/2025. I'm going to say the same thing about this. There's 1 vacancy and only 1 person. I'd like to waive our policy once again by unanimous consent. Any objections? Then we will do it. And I entertain a motion for Joyce.
So moved. Oh, well, I won't do it that way. I make a motion, we appoint Joyce Andrews of 494, I got the wrong. 4201 Main Road to the Litter Committee for a term expiring 10/15/2025.
A second.
Motion made by Council Edwards, seconded by Councilor Vieira. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next one. I'm very impressed with all these people that are joining. I want to thank everyone.
Absolutely.
Want to thank everyone. Historical Cemetery Commission, a 5-member board, 3-year term. There's 4 vacancies. James Spears, 494 West DeMello Drive, request reappointment to expire 4/15/2024. Susan Anderson, 1137 Main Road, request reappointment to expire 4/15/2024. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So move, I move that we appoint James Spears, 494 West DeMello Drive, to the Historical Cemeteries Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024, and Susan Anderson of 1137 Main Road, a term to expire 4/15/2024.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Dog Park. There's 17 members and 17 vacancies. As you remember, it was discussed that we would put all 17 on right now. They have done, all these people have worked very hard. And then once it's established and it's like more of a maintenance committee, then it will decrease. But it was asked by the head of this committee that we put all 17 on. So the 17 are David Paul, Kim Sutherland, Barbara Pelletier, Sean Canoia, Melissa Quinlan, Tracy Bishop, Joanna Christman, Bob Sutherland, Bob Sodoma, Paul Anderson, Liz Cottrell, Sarah Prescott, Elizabeth Rose, Richard Siegel, Gary Faria, Erica Penna Vest, and Anna Jones. And whoever makes this motion, you don't have to say all of these. You can just so move this. I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint all 17 for a 1-year term.
Can Gibby or Donna's dog make the motion?
What?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to speak over you, Joe. I thought you were done.
It's okay. Yeah, to the Dog Park Commission.
Mike, do you second this or?
Sure. I just wanted to know if Gibby or Donna's dog could second it, though.
Yeah, well, Gibby's being really quiet right now, so let's, sooner or later, Gibby's gonna want to join us. Deb, discussion?
Do we need to put a expiration date on this?
Well, it's a 1-year term. Yeah, so
Today.
it would be.
From today, yeah, from today.
1 year from today.
Not dog years, right?
No.
No.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Roof, roof. Yes.
Counselor Cook.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes.
And Joe, just as you did this, you won't gibby up. His ears are up and he's looking at the screen. Thank you very much, Joe.
We speak the same language.
And Counselor, and I'm a yes. I'm
You
so sick of
dog.
hearing myself talk for the last 2 days. All right, I do want to reiterate, I thank everyone who's reappointing and continuously serving Tiverton. And I'm really excited about the new people that are joining us.
Yep.
And anyone out there, there's still vacancies on committees, please join. They're fun sometimes.
There's a lot of familiar names in here.
Yeah, yeah. Acknowledgement of resignation. Lori Robinson from the Personnel Board, effective March 18th, 2020. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept Lori's resignation.
With great regret.
With regret, and thank you for her service.
Yes,
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes, and thank you for your service.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook. Counselor Cook
Yes.
and Counselor DiMederos, yes. And I always wonder what would happen if we didn't accept the resignation. I don't think we can force them to stay. Now, acknowledgement of correction. This was something that was discovered. The Historical Preservation Advisory Board, 10/26/20 reappointment of Stu Hottie. The correction is the date from 4/15/23 changed to 10/15/2023. And I don't think we need to vote on that, do we, Mike?
I would just do that so the record's clear that we did, that that's correct. The new term is set, yep.
All right, I need a motion for the correction.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Counselor Perry, seconded by Counselor Vieira. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. General business. DPW Director Rogers. Approval of budget transfers. $280 from account 5540-6451 snow removal to account 5540-6935 telephone and TV. $38,000 from account 5540-6451 snow removal to account 5530-7645 dozer repairs. $300 from account 5540-5104 overtime to account 5530-5104 landfill overtime. $9,000 from account 5530-7198 transfer station recycling plan study to account 5530-7139 engineering testing permit. Rick is with us. Any questions?
Yeah, the only question I have, are we sure we're not going to have any more snow this year?
Yeah, I know. I hope not.
Although
do
they
have-
did predict possibly Northern Rhode Island later this week.
Yeah.
Could see some.
They can
Well,
have
we're
it.
not here, so.
I do have one question. Rick, the transfer station recycling plan, you're transferring that money over?
Yes, yes, Denise, because PAR is spending their time on the landfill use extension and the bid documents and the plans that had to be updated. They're not probably going to be getting around to continuing on the recycle center plans until June. So there's not going to be much more money spent this fiscal year. And that's why there is a note on there that fund, when we estimated the budget back in October, November, December, we didn't anticipate it taking this much time for the diem requirements. So there was only 10,000 put in for next fiscal year. We thought we would be spending a 20,000 this fiscal year. So I did just want to note that's going to have to probably, I'm sure, be increased for next fiscal year.
Well, I'm wondering if we could have some of the funds, some other funds we could use for that and not change that number. What do you think, Chris?
Rick, just let me clarify the issue on the testing. There is more testing being required because of this moving forward that we may have to start this spring. Is that the rationale for this? For the permitting?
Okay. But the transfer station recycling plan study, are we going to have enough money for next year?
So, well, again, if he needs to do, if he really needs to do this, I don't, those monies won't carry forward. So I think he's trying to utilize them the best that he can now. And it was the discussion that we had on Saturday, I believe that we would probably look at using some of these new monies coming in from the feds out of the stimulus to pay for this project. And
that's my question.
Yep.
Okay. You just answered it the way I thought you would.
Okay.
Councilor Janet?
So I'm wondering about why we're transferring for telephones, because I know the fire department has a lot of money transferring for telephones. Is this something we did not budget correctly?
So all of our phones were increased when I first came in. And some of the cable connections for our internet as part of that phone package with Cox has also gone up. So every one of the departments is experiencing increases that were not forecast when we did the upgrades. It turned out that there was a little bit more cost involved to this than what was anticipated prior to me coming on board. It was.
So we're going to see this across the board with every department.
But it won't affect next year's budget.
It should not.
Okay. Councilor Edwards?
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I think it's Rick that wants to.
Oh, well, yeah, so we're paying more for that stellar Cox service. Either Chris or Rick, is there any money left in the, what is it, the resource recovery, recycling?
Yes.
Fund?
No, it's nominal. I think, Rick, there's, what, under 10,000 in that?
Because that's where we've been sort of rating it for the recycling center.
Right.
Until it goes away.
I think what Jay is mentioning is the fund that Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation, they used to give reimbursements to the town. I think there is very little left in that at all, if any, but maybe I can ask the treasurer and forward that information to Chris.
Yeah.
I think.
The reason I mentioned it when Denise wondered, if we could get it from another fund, that's the fund we've sort of been using for that purpose. Nothing else is going into it, and it's eventually going to be gone.
Yep. I'll find out from Denise how much is actually in that.
I had that number.
It does make sense to do this.
I had that number, Chris, but
You do?
yeah, I don't. I couldn't find it if my life depended on it. I think it's less than $10,000 the way you said. I looked at it the
It was
other
like
day.
30,000 before we started doing some things with the
Yeah.
recycling. We did all the freshwater permitting. It wasn't freshwater, it was stormwater permitting when we started, and it turned into freshwater permitting. So the fees actually went up on us, and I think we used quite a bit of that money left to do this. And I don't think there's a lot of money left in it, but I will get that to be on your next report as far as a summary of what funds are available.
Okay. Thank you.
And one thing I would like to point out it's mentioned in the dozer repair request for the budget transfer is that there's only going to be about 2,000 left in the account, and we have not been able to have the 963D dozer reviewed because that's still being used at the transfer station. But when that comes back to the shop, we expect some expenses. I just wanted to mention that. This is not anticipatory for that, other than, you know, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 left in the account after this is paid for the 963D injectors, which was done on site, and the large bill for Milton for the 963C.
So just for clarity, just so everybody understands, when we originally got the excess bill for this bulldozer, it was anticipated that we would utilize the council contingency fund for that, which we're not doing at the moment.
Yep.
So if Rick has additional issues with the other dozer, we may be looking at the council contingency to fund some of this if we can't find other resources within DPW, but we will definitely look at DPW first.
Yeah, and we had that discussion, and the council did agree that if that has to happen, that could happen. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion for these transfers, and if you want to just say as stated, that's fine.
I'll make a motion as for these transfers as stated.
Do I have a
Second
second?
it.
I have a motion by Councilor Perry, a seconded by Councilor Edwards. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes,
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Rick.
welcome, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Fire Chief Ramos, approval of budget transfers.
Oop, sorry, I brought on the wrong chief.
That's all right. Patrick can stay if he wants. Where is the right chief, though?
He's coming.
Okay. Fire Chief
There he
Ramos,
is.
approval of budget transfers. $1,500 from account 3310-6453, equipment service contract to account 3310-6935, telephones. $3,000 from account 3310-6648, minor equipment replacement to account 3310-6935, telephones. $1,000 from account 3310-6968, medical physical to account 3310-6935, telephones. Wow. $3,000 from account 3310-6840, station building maintenance to account 3310-6935, telephones. $2,000 from account 3310-6969, medical supplies to account 3310-7530, software maintenance. $1,200 from account 3310-7423, office supplies to account 3310-7530, software maintenance. $10,000 from account 3310-7611, fuel oil tires to account 3310-7640, apparatus maintenance. $5,000 from account 3310-6968, medical physicals to account 3310-7640, apparatus maintenance. Any questions? I have a question.
Owns.
Medical physicals, Bruce.
Yeah.
We put a line item on the next budget for this, but it doesn't
Right.
look like they're having their medical physicals because we just took $6,000 from that account.
Out of the $6,000 account, right? So what happened there was, actually, when I was acting chief 2 years ago, I think it was, I came before the budget committee and the council and asked, there was something that we didn't usually do, but we had done in the past. We had stopped for a bunch of years. I asked for the money then. I was awarded we were awarded the money. And when Chief Marlowe came on, he had all the physicals lined up starting in March of last year.
Yep.
And then COVID hit. Concentra, who was the company up in Warwick that does all the physicals, called and said, no way. So it got put off. We were able to start them up in September, I think, something like that. I don't know the exact date. But we still had the money from when it was approved last time. So we were able to get all of them done. I think we got everybody except for 4 members of the department done up for now, for last year. The money that is put in for this coming budget. I'd like to do it September or something, start in September.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's certainly something that's very, very important.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure, because I know you said it was very important. So I
Right.
just wanted to make sure it is being done and the men are having them done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
And
Any
next
other-
time I have so many, I could read them all for you if you want.
No, it's
Oh,
okay.
that's excellent, Bruce.
No, I just wanted to make sure that your plan's going forward and the men are having it done.
Oh, yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
remember at one point, they weren't going and having them done, and we couldn't force them to do that. So I'm glad they're participating in the program.
So-
Anyone else? Deb?
Could you give them an update on the telephones as to why that,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it is a little bit of a number.
It is. So the whole monopoly thing, Cox, I guess, our phone bills went up. So we have regular phone bills that we have phone lines, excuse me, that we use. And then we have phone lines that we need because of the radio, the integrated radio system that we have. Just those phone lines for the radio system went up in the past year. They went up twice for, I think, close to $1,000 a month, 800, 850, something like that a month, just on the lines so we can use our radio system. So that was not anticipated for when this budget was put in place, for sure.
So, and the other part of it was, we had old analog phones and we've changed them over to IP telephony, and it took a little bit of capital cost to do that, to change those phones over. And hopefully those phone bills for those large increases go away after we change the line to the tower to the police station. I think some of those bills will go away.
So, yeah, speaking on that, because for some reason, the wire that was run from Public Works over to the police, from the tower at Public Works over to the police station, I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I think it was the casino that ran that wire.
Yep.
It was the wrong wire. It wasn't twisted wire, which means that if the police and the fire were talking at the same time, there could have been interference. So the department bought the right wire. We had, there was a shift with a certain electrician on that shift. They went down there and they actually ran the right wire, got it all set up. We had to have Cybercom come in and switch over some things on the base radio, not really the base radio, I don't believe, but something in the police station. We've allowed that to stay in place for a little while, and now actually just 2 weeks ago, I called up Verizon and asked them to get rid of the two phone lines. So that's going to save us, excuse me, roughly $750 to $800 a month, I think,
Yep.
just by getting rid of those two lines. So we're doing everything we can to keep the price down, but if, Cox.
So we basically had to make some infrastructure changes to accommodate the new IP telephony lines and get rid of the old analog lines, and that will make those old bills go away. But we had to put some money up front to do this, which was a little painful, but it needed to get done.
Yeah, if we ever get the opportunity to go over to the 800 radios, like we can get rid of those lines altogether.
Correct.
So that would be certainly be a good thing.
Okay, any other questions?
So that was my first question was about the telephones, because it's just crazy, but we won't have to deal with that next year. And the medical physicals, those are done on a regular basis
There now.
It should be done annually.
every year,
Annually, yep.
annually. Okay, that's good.
Right. See, Joe, you woke up Gibby. Everybody can see him. Yeah. All right,
My
any other
buddy,
questions? Any other questions? I'd like to entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move approval. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead,
I'll
Mike.
make a motion that we approve the transfers as requested by the fire chief.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Counselor Perry, seconded by Counselor Cook. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes,
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes,
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. Thank you. And thank you, Chief Ramos.
Thank you,
He's
everybody.
already gone. Oh, no, there he is. Okay.
No.
good job, Bruce.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, planner, I can never say your name, Jen.
Siciliano. Yeah.
Siciliano, request to advertise for zoning map updates. Go ahead, Jen.
Yes, so I'm requesting that the town council give permission to advertise and notify butters for a public hearing to amend the zoning map. The amendment is to create consistency between the most current comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2018 and the current zoning ordinance. There are two important maps in the comprehensive plan. One says future land use map, which is how the town wants the future zoning to be. And the second map shows the inconsistencies between that future land use map and current zoning. So the state law requires that the town adopt the new zoning in conformance with their comp plan. They usually give 2 years to do this, but it's been about 3. So I thought that we should comply with these mandates. Is for 15 different parcels throughout the town to change that from residential to open space. All these parcels are owned by either the state, the town, one by the Stonebridge Fire District, one by Fall River Water Department, another one by Newport Water Department. So all the property owners would be notified, and the changes and the abutters within 200 feet would be notified. So that's something that doesn't have to go to planning board, since it has already been approved by them and by the town council.
Counselor Cook?
Yeah, I had quite a few questions,
Sure.
Jennifer.
Sure.
You mentioned it, first of all, you mentioned a second map. all I have is one.
I think that one that I handed you was the inconsistencies, so the 15 parcels that would be changed. So,
Okay. I don't think there's enough information. I'm like, what am I looking at? Because I can't marry the grid here with what I'm looking at. That's the first problem. Not that it's going to change anything, but I frankly, I don't know what you're talking about. I did, to be clear, I talked to Jay Edwards about this, and he helped me out, and I had some maps to look at, but I was just hoping that if I was having trouble with it, if people are going to be able to do a hearing on this, that they at least could know how much land is involved and what exactly the plot and lot is.
sure.
I frankly, I can't tell. I'd have to look at all these different maps
Right.
and thank you, Jay, for that. But there certainly was a lot of maps. I was still having trouble. So if I'm having trouble, I think a lot of people won't know, would have the same thing. Yeah, so I was looking for, there's large, what would be the unintended consequences of the rezoning? Are there any unintended consequences that we would know of?
Yes.
According to state law, you are required, it said, the state approval of the comprehensive plans and all benefits and incentives for the condition of the state approval would be voided. What does that mean? I am not clear. It doesn't sound like you'll get a financial, fine or something, but it is something that the state looks at that you are required to comply with. Your other option is to change the comprehensive plan so that you don't have all those inconsistencies, but then you would be required to have a public hearing for the change to the comprehensive plan. So either way, you'd have to have some sort of public hearing.
I know that, thank you, Jennifer, but that still doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not knowing, first of all, with the map, what the ID, what the number is, how much land is involved, and then what the unintended consequences could be. The state also, with planning and a central planning, could interfere in our zoning. And there seems to be a lot of that going on where, they come in with HUD money and then all of a sudden you have to do what they say you have to do, and all of a sudden you lose control of your zoning, which is very concerning to me. If you're looking at things with blinders on, there's actually a bigger plan, and you have to be careful of that. And anyway, I don't know where we can go with this, because I don't know if anyone knows what the consequences could eventually be with the state coming in and telling us what to do with our zoning.
Well,
like they're already doing it.
Jen, can I just clear something up for a minute? This is so we stay inconsistent with the community comprehensive plan. And we've already designated these areas as open space and where people can, when I look at these areas, those areas are already open for the public to go into. So our comprehensive plan already stated that we wanted this to be open space areas. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
So it's not the state telling us. It's not the state telling us we have to do this. It's the state telling us that we have to comply to our comprehensive plan, correct?
Yes, and I think that what the implications of not doing that is the state coming in and saying that you're not in compliance.
Right, but
the town is.
Yeah, but Donna, the town is already in our comprehensive plan, which we approved, said that these were open spaces. And that's why we have to zone them correctly. Am I right, Mike?
Okay, but still, the map's not clear on what we're doing.
So there are. So if I can just interrupt, I'll let maybe Mike Burke might clarify. Let Mike, and then I'll.
No, I think Denise was and Jennifer was. So if I may, Jennifer, the Watuppa Reservoir Plat 205 is the one at the top of Eagleville, possibly?
Yes.
Okay. And then the state of Rhode Island 213 is on Stafford Pond there, that small one?
Right, which I think is the boat ramp.
Right.
Which is already people using it.
And then the Stone Bridge is number 3 at the bottom of Stafford Pond.
Correct.
Correct. So that's all water related. but water resource related in some way. The little one off of Fish Road, it looks like it's near the industrial park, but I'm not sure. Is that wetlands?
Number 4, right?
I do not
think it's
have the
4.
map.
It's zoned R40 right now.
That's
It's
the
owned by
pond.
the state of Rhode Island.
That's
That's,
the little fishing pond.
yeah, that's the
Okay.
fishing
Well,
pond.
that's a fishing pond. Okay, yep, got it. And then coming down Main Road, right across from Nanaquacket, that looks like it's part of the, it's owned by the town. It's part of the Picasso Ridge project.
I thought that was also the fishing area.
It goes back up into Picasso Ridge, which I know the trust has some, DEM has some, it was purchased collectively with DEM money the trust raised and the land trust. What's that?
It's the Royker Land Trust.
Oh, that's right, off Main Road like that?
No, down, I thought you down by Sapao. That's
Oh, no, Sapowit, you're right. That's the
That's another
Audubon
one.
type
That's another
area.
one.
So the other one is the Secana Ridge.
Okay, yep, okay. And then off East Road, that's Weedamoo.
Yep,
They're all those are Weedamo, right?
The one downtown along the Little Compton line is that,
Yeah,
Oh.
13 down there.
yeah, it's the, I forget the name of it, but there's it's an open space area. You can walk there if you want. The one,
Well, I've actually seen that one when I go to Fogland.
yeah, that's what that is. I can't think of what the one over off of it looks like it's up East Road on the right. I can't think what that one is.
wait a minute.
Where are
Off
you at,
East
Mike?
Road.
It's between the Weedamoo Wood one and Crandall Road, the funny shaped one there.
That's the one that Toasty's Pit used to have.
Yep.
Toasty's
Yes,
gravel
that's
pit.
what that is.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it's a
and then-
wildlife.
Oh, it's wildlife, and then the one off, the couple off of Brayton Road. One looks like it's the other entrance to Weedamoo.
Yep.
I'm not sure about the other two, but so let me pose the question a different way. If for some reason we decided not to do this because they're zoned residential, is there the possibility that somebody would come in and say, hey, you should put houses on that? And we
Well,
might,
not only, but these are already open areas.
right.
So, I didn't mean to interrupt, Council President, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, the comprehensive plan, which was already approved by the town and submitted to the state, has been accepted by the state. Now this is an administrative move saying that now that we've approved this, your comprehensive plan, which you wrote, which, the planning board had a say in and the town council had to approve. Now that we have this approved plan that the state has accepted, it's now your obligation to move forward with that plan and make the recommendations and changes that you have put in your plan consistent with your zoning code and your zoning map. So if I understand the planner correctly, all these parcels that Mr. Burke just listed are listed in the new approved comprehensive plan as open space.
Yes.
However, they're currently zoned as residential.
Mhm.
Because the comprehensive plan and zoning must match, we're basically just asking for the ability to advertise, to have the public hearing where all these lots and the abutters will be noticed, indicating to them that these lots will now be rezoned from residential R40 or whatever they happen to be to open space. So the state is not doing anything telling us that we must do this. We've already decided that we believe it's the most beneficial to the town to do so. And now this is just an administrative step to get it consistent.
Right. Right, and that's what I was trying to say to Donna. The state's not telling us that we have to do this. This is, we told the state this is what we want to do.
Correct.
So now we have to zone it correctly according to the comprehensive plan.
And I agree with Mike. I'm sorry.
I'm still asking for the ID, like we're kind of like, Mike was pretty good on being able to say what was what, and then we kind of lost it because we couldn't figure out what plot went with what little square over here.
Sure.
So the advertisement, Donna, will have to list the plot and lot number of each parcel.
Yep.
Is
In the
that,
map. The advertisement is going to have to list the plat and lot number for each parcel that we're talking about here today.
so when they look at the map, they see what's on this legend?
The advertisement is set, what you have to advertise is set by state law, and one of the requirements is that you list the plat and lot number. And
Oh,
there'll
in
be
the
a map, and
Yeah.
there'll be a
But I
map,
wanted to-
and there'll be a map that goes along with it, correct, Jennifer?
Yes, yes. I will make sure that it's clear.
Okay, thank you.
But we're not making any changes tonight, Donna. We're just asking that it be advertised. So eventually, after 3 advertisements, we could actually have the public hearing.
All right.
Counselor Edwards,
Okay, so we are going to have to revisit this again to approve the whole thing, right?
correct. It's
Right,
just
so-
asking to go out for advertisement.
So then tomorrow I will send Joan a copy of everything I sent Donna so that she can send it to everybody else. It
Where
just
did you-
clarifies what the plots are and all that.
Where did you get that, Jay?
I spent some time going through the plat numbers, getting the maps, identifying the lots, and I printed 15 pages with Carol what we were talking about. She sent us, identified all her little squares with the appropriate number. Anyway,
Public on our
this
GIS.
whole thing amounts to a paperwork drill to satisfy the requirement.
Chris, what? Chris?
It's all public on our GIS system.
Okay, yeah, well, I
But
imagine.
not
that-
everybody knows how to use it.
Right. Anyone else? Any other discussion?
No.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to go out to advertise for zoning map updates.
So moved.
So moved.
Counselor Edwards made the motion, Counselor Perry seconded. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Counselor Cook,
Thank you,
discussion.
Jennifer.
Counselor Cook, discussion request for solicitor research and draft proposed necessary amendment to ordinance or zoning code to address short-term rentals or licensing requirements. Now, this is if we want an amendment to that. So go ahead,
Correct.
Donna.
Well, presently, we don't have an ordinance for short-term rentals for Airbon or VRBO or any type of rental like that. And I've actually had some people complain to me this past summer about, I guess there was rentals, that short-term rentals going on down near Sepauwett.
Yep.
Beautiful. Yeah, so I thought, and also recently with the Essex Library, very, very well done, historically being refurbished by Mr. Epstein. The thing is that we don't have any system. The zoning in that area is not consistent with a hotel type of setup. So I think the town really needs to get on board with zoning. Most places have an ordinance to cover this, to cover the town.
We do have an ordinance that says in residential, you cannot have short-term. You cannot rent that way. You can't have short-term rental. Now, I want to make it clear that when we sold Essex Library, and I think that the people in the neighborhood are aware of this, we sold it as a single-family home.
That's right.
And was under the impression that that's how it was going to be used. Our zoning does not allow for this. So if we wanted short-term rentals, weekly rentals, monthly rentals, then we'd have to change the ordinance, which and I have a feeling at the public hearing, we're going to get a lot of people to come because there has been complaints last summer over Sepauwett. Attorney Marcello.
Why don't you go to Mr. Perry first, and I'll happen to fill you.
Counselor Perry.
The only question I have, is there anything on the books from previous years when the Stonebridge Inn used to rent rooms? Is there anything still on the books from back then?
But that was
Because that-
commercial. That's commercial, Joe. They can do that.
Okay,
Because that's
I just
commercial.
want to make sure there's nothing that says, that's allowed in that area, that's all.
Well, it's a commercial area. That where the Stonebridge is commercial, where it used to be. This is a residential area. People live side by side with these. And it's a residential.
Yes.
Attorney Marcello?
So I just want to give a little bit of more of a background on this. So we currently, our zoning code in a residential zone does not allow, when I say doesn't allow, it doesn't account for or does not even mention these kind of short-term rentals. So if you have a single family home and you decide maybe you get relocated to another job, but you want to keep your house, but you want to rent it on a week-to-week basis because you have a beautiful overlook of the river or the bay or whatever it happens to be. You put it on Airbnb, and now you're renting that residence basically kind of like a hotel, but hotels are not allowed in residential zones. So I take the position that a short-term rental, which is generally defined less than 30 days, is not permitted in residential zones. So you can't take your single family home and rent it out week to week. If you lived in the single family home and ran a bed and breakfast, that's a little different. Our code does allow for bed and breakfast, but you have to comply with zoning to get that. But we don't have that. So this is not just an issue that's unique to Tiverton. This is unique to many of the communities that live up near the water and people that are desirable for vacation. And it's become more desirable during the pandemic because people are leaving their crowded people. They can work from anywhere now, right? So they're leaving New York City and they're coming to rent for 2 weeks a house on the Seconic River or somewhere. So the issue becomes is how the town wants to regulate it. I have a feeling that you have a lot more rentals on a week-to-week basis than you probably expect in your town. And right now, it's kind of like a haphazard way of how we, I guess unless your neighbor complains, we really don't know much about it. So the issue is, how do we want to regulate them? Or do we want to just say that these are not allowed at all in residential zones? Or kind of a little bit of a hybrid. Newport takes a little bit of a different approach. Providence takes a different approach. Providence allows short-term rentals in residential zone, but it has to be owner occupied, which kind of seems weird to me because why would you want a short-term rental when the owner's still living there? But as it was explained to me, I spoke to a solicitor in Providence. I'm forgetting that in Providence, there are a lot of triple-decker homes. So you can live on the first floor and rent out the second or third floor as an Airbnb. And as you know, some of the triple deckers, overlook pretty nice areas in Providence. Some of the river, the bridge, whatever. So, if the council feels that they want to go in this direction, I'm happy to try to draft something. I just got to figure out before I spend a lot of time on it as to what direction do we want to go? Do we want by saying banning it would basically leave it as it is right now. It would not be permitted anywhere. Or if we are going to allow it, and again, knowing full well that there are some people who are doing this in your community right now, they're unregulated. And so if we're going to allow it, then how are we going to regulate it? Are we going to allow it by zone? Are we going to do it by special use permit? Or Portsmouth just adopted a pretty comprehensive one. Newport has a comprehensive. So it's kind of, I'm just kind of looking for some direction.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know what you're proposing, Donna. Are you proposing that this is allowed?
I'm proposing that we have some type of control over what's going on because right now it is going on and there's no control. So I don't think that.
The only reason why there's no control is because we're not controlling it because it's not supposed to happen. So.
Well, but it is happening. I mean, you can pretend like it isn't, but it is.
Well,
and personally, I think, it being residential, I thought, the Essex Library would be one person, living there. But actually, if you look at what he'd like to do or what he's already done. He's signed up with Landmark, and it really puts Tiverton on the map in a good way, because they only take very specialized historic buildings and have people rent, and they get to see the whole area. I just thought it was very unique, what he picked, and very carefully chosen for that building. It's up to the council. I just think it's kind of short-sighted, personally, not to have some type of control over it, because it is going on. They're
Right,
just
and
not
my,
making,
and my opinion on the Essex Library, if that's what he was planning on doing, he should have been upfront with us, because then we could have addressed it at the time and decide whether or not we wanted that to happen. The neighbors in that community are upset about it, and I'm not quite sure I blame them, because I wouldn't want the house next door to have people in and out every week. So I can see their point of view, and we did get complaints from Sepauwett, and I want to make it very clear, the complaints I got from Sepauwett, I did bring to the attention of the town, of the administrator and the building official, and it was said at the time that it can be done, so I didn't look into it further. But now that we have the attorney's opinion, I know it can't be done right now. So I feel bad for the people that were complaining down there this summer and were told that this could happen, because apparently we have to change our ordinance in order for that to happen. So Deb?
So are you saying, like, Marcelo, that if someone lived in the Essex, they could rent it out as a bed and breakfast as long as it's owner occupied?
I don't know what that zone is, but then we do have a provision for bed and breakfast. And if it was a bed and breakfast in a residential zone, I believe that as long as it's owner occupied, you could do that. Let me just check, hold on.
It is a residential.
So then if that were allowed, we would, or we should be collecting taxes on that, right? And I'm gonna say we're probably not collecting taxes.
well, you'd have to have registration fees, and you'd know exactly what was going on. And also that the police and fire department would also know that people were renting, and they'd have to go with all the rules and regulations. Plus, the posting of our rules and regulations would be posted at these places. It would be regulated that way, and they'd have to apply to the town clerk for a permit. So everyone would know what was going on. But once again, it's up to the council. Right now, you don't know what's going on, and it is going on. So,
just to answer your question, Councilor Janik, a bed and breakfast is is allowed in a residential zone, in all residential zones, R30, 40, 60, and 80, as a special use permit. So you could do it.
So they have to go to the zone, they have to get a special use permit, which
But the definition of a bed and breakfast is that it's got to be owner occupied. But yes, they would have to go to the zoning and get a special use permit. So that's how that you would regulate that. So now, I know that we have one issue that everyone seems to know about, but we have to look at this globally, because I drove around with the town administrator on last Thursday, and there are houses, that are pretty nice on the water that I guess apparently people buy and rent out on a week to week. It's my position that if you own a home and you're not in that home and you're renting out week to week, you're basically running a business out of a residential zone. Correct. Which is not permitted under the zoning code. So that's the position I take. Whether we're challenged on that at a future date, but that means that anybody, so if we know that someone's advertising on Airbnb, we have to go after that person and say, you can't do that. We can't, because we shouldn't be or should not be selective in our enforcement. We're going to ban it altogether as a zoning violation, or we're going to somehow permit it, but we're going to regulate it somehow. That's kind of the conundrum we're in. I'm sure, I would imagine that there are homes within Tiverton that we don't even know about that are probably doing this, but maybe they're so spread out or don't have many neighbors that nobody knows about it. And so nobody complains. But it becomes a more of a problem when you have a dense neighborhood.
Jay?
Well, Mike, the only thing I'm going to say about all this is things evolve. And a few short years ago, Airbnb, for instance, was a very new phenomenon. It's not new anymore. It's very large. And we can either be flamingos and put our head in the sand and just ignore it, or we can take a position and say, okay, we acknowledge it, and we will therefore regulate it like we would any other business in town. There's also, there's anybody can rent a house and you walk in and it's not permitted, fire alarms don't work, there's, all kinds of problems, not been inspected. There's all kinds of liability issues with that. So we should probably recognize that this exists, and the way you do that is with regulations and an ordinance.
I agree with you 100% that our zoning code, which was probably written who knows when, doesn't anticipate these type of uses of property. It was just, when it was written, there was no such thing as an Airbnb. There was no such thing as the internet where you could put these things on.
Right.
So.
But my question, because Mike's gonna need some guidance, do we want to allow this in residential areas? And if we do, then we really do need to get some input from the community. Of course, we'll have to. But I think that some of these residential areas, the neighbors are right on the side of you, and I'm not quite sure if that's what we want to promote. Like maybe down by the water where there's acreage between each house, that's different.
It's kind of hard to pick and choose, though.
Well, it is. So that's why we have
Airbnb exists in residential homes and residential areas. It's not hotels.
I agree.
Well, mostly it's not. So, if you could, how can you pick and choose and say, well, the R80s down in the wealthy coastal area can do it, but on Merritt Avenue, you can't.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. I know the administrator, you could, but you have the right to make that distinction in your zoning code.
It's a tough call, though.
It is a tough call, but you guys get the big bucks to make those tough calls.
Chris?
So just to be clear, last summer, with the issue that arose with the Airbnbs last summer was along the waterfront, we had a number of places that were being leased out for less than a day or for a day or two to have weddings or to have other functions. It was through Airbnb that we, what we found out, because the Department of Health was the one that actually pointed out to us that they saw it, and we got complaints from neighbors around the properties. So it was because of social distancing and the number of people at these venues so that's how it came about last year. Now, there are Airbnbs that I don't know if people live in the property, if they're just renting out a room so there's a lot to this to make sure that if we're going to allow it, we do it properly. And then we have to actually have some administrative oversight to, I'm not sure what we'll have to do to ensure that it's being followed properly.
Well, the one that I'm talking about down in the Sepauwett area was the person does not live there and he rents it out weekly. And I was getting complaints that there were younger folks there partying every night.
We did go into the house.
Remember that? Partying every night. And
that's right.
And whether or not that should be allowed, like they weren't quite sure if we allowed that. So that's the one that I remember. Mike, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts and an idea. One is I agree that however we approach this, we need to do it cautiously. In many, mostly larger cities, I think, what has happened with the onset of Airbnb and the related types of things, it's pushed people out who lived in traditional lower income places, and because they can't afford to live there anymore. And we certainly don't want to push out our citizens who are in their house that's affordable right now, because of allowing such a business. The other thing is, and I didn't realize this, at least the extent of it, until I was reading something recently, because I've stayed at a few Airbnbs, and I always assumed, because the ones that I stayed at were owner occupied or next to, that was a requirement of Airbnb, but it's not. You know, this one that is with the Essex Library is an example, and there are others. I read the piece that I read, there was one fellow, I forget where he was, but he managed like 10 or 12 properties in the city through Airbnb, which to me is not what the intent of it is. The intent really, I think, I mean, certainly they've grown their business model, but the intent was to give somebody an opportunity to make a little bit of money off their extra space. So I think that needs to be taken into account. You need to take parking into account with it. You know, if you had something on my street, there's very little parking here. And I think that's in many of our neighborhoods. And if you get two cars across from each other on the street, you can barely get another car in between, especially, or a truck in between. And also I agree with Mr. Cotta that by taking this on, there will be significant administrative oversight that we'll have to look at how we would support that administrative oversight. And then do we parse it out, so to speak, that certain areas can have it and certain areas can't? And we do that anyway with zoning anyway. We say, you know, in this zoning area, you can have, you know, certain lot distance between houses. You know, here you can have commercial and residential, here you can't. So that's, you know, kind of normal for it. The idea is whether or not it makes sense to do an informal public hearing, to throw the idea out there and let people come and tell us what they think, you know, on both sides of the equation, or just ideas in general, not that they're in favor or not in favor. And that may help give us some guidance to be able to give our solicitor better guidance.
Well, yeah. I just don't know how we could do it informally and get people here. Because it's on the agenda tonight and there's no one here to talk about it, I don't think. So sometimes when you write an ordinance, whether they like it or they don't like it, they come. I don't know how, Mike, what do you think? How could we do it?
Well, I mean, we can certainly, I think you get more people once they see an ordinance in front of them, they can see how it may or may not affect them. And that's when they start, you know, getting an interest in it. And again, you have to have at least one public hearing before, but this would be a zoning ordinance, so it's governed by state law. So there'd have to be lots of advertising, but they wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't have to adopt it that night either. You could continue it if there was such an outcry one way or the other. You know, this is going to be, you know, I'm sure there's some people who make, you know, some good money basically renting out their houses on this, and this could be an issue for a lot of people. But like the town's new position, I don't want to say new position, but, you know, since I became solicitor, my position is that you really not, this is not, anybody who's doing this now is in violation of the zoning code because they're operating a business out of a residential zone, unless they're owner occupied and qualify as a bed and breakfast. But bed and breakfast has, you know, some very strict requirements. And to Donna's point, you know, people may be doing this. I think there are safety concerns. I mean, do these Airbnb have, you know, adequate exit? You know, some towns require before you register, or if you're going to do this, you've got to have a fire. You know, make sure a fire inspector goes out and takes a look at it, make sure there's enough exits that's wired properly for smoke alarms and those kind of things. So there is a safety element of it as well, because let's face it, you're basically using an entire house as a hotel room for 1 week, even though it's an entire house.
Right. And is there a limit at the amount of occupancy there?
It could be.
I think it's
exactly.
2 per bedroom.
Well, it would be limited according to what the septic system could.
Well, that's what I was just going to say.
And this particular one from Portsmouth, it covers an awful lot.
Yeah, Portsmouth does have a pretty comprehensive. They make you register. They make you have a contact person in case there is an issue that the police have. You know, if you need to call the police, you call the contact person. So they're, you know, Portsmouth is right now is the model that's going around all these cities and towns. I just left a complaint in East Providence before I came to this meeting tonight. You know, we have a beautiful area that overlooks the And then someone had a big party this weekend, and the neighbors were very upset about it. They were lighting off fireworks on a beach, and they were from New York, and they were there for 4 days, and they made a ruckus of the neighborhood. And these were, nice houses on the water. I can see why it happens. I don't live on the water, and so I don't think anybody would be renting my house out. But who knows? You never know. And I would work with Jen on this because we'd have to do a pretty good survey of communities. But it is more common in Newport, Portsmouth. It's even Providence. It's communities that border the water or have some kind of cultural or historic event. But I will say, even in my town of Situate, we had an issue in the village of North Situate, which is landlocked. During COVID, we had a 2-family home that the person was renting out an Airbnb, and it caused a ruckus in the neighborhood. So,
Councilor Vieira?
Thank you. I just want to thank Donna for putting this on the agenda. First of all, I didn't really know that this was an issue here in town, so thank you, Donna, for this. I look forward to hearings from the public in the future regarding this. But if Mike is looking for guidance, I think people are going to do what they want to do anyway. So I think we should think about regulation. Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, we have to tell Mike if we want this allowed. That's the first question, correct? Whether we want to let these owners operate 1-week rentals in these areas.
Maybe in some areas other than others, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because we have to give them some kind of guidance.
Well,
why doesn't Mike and Jennifer do some research, get us some examples of ordinances in other areas that we can look at? And then
I'll reach out to the league to see if they can give me what other cities.
right. And then maybe have some kind of framework to go by. We might like a little bit of what Portsmouth does, might like a little bit about what Newport does. And at least if we have some in front of us, we could get some ideas on where we want to go. Does that sound good to everyone?
Does to me.
yeah.
Deb, you have your hand up?
Yeah, and I also thank Donna because I really hadn't given this a thought either. I wasn't aware of it. But I think that if we do regulate it, that with some of the regulations, it may stop some people. I don't think that I would enjoy having my neighboring neighbor's home with people moving in and out every single week. So I think it's disruptive to people who are living there year round. But I think if we do put some regulation and put some restrictions, then it may stop some, and some of people may feel it's okay and they can live within those restrictions. So I think getting some guidance from some of the area towns that do this.
I mean, we even have the ability to say you can rent it out for only 2 weeks at a time, so that there isn't the commotion of people.
And I'm thinking of like my parents' condo in Florida. They only allowed one rental. They had like a minimum. You had to rent for like 2 months or something because they didn't want people in and out like that. But what does North Kingston do, or Narragansett?
Well, we'll have to look into that.
I mean, because I know that the house that I rented for my daughter, which we rented from like September to May, then went on a weekly rental once the college kids moved out. So they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, I would think that in Narragansett, they have a little, I don't know what their ordinances say, but because of that, they do probably have a different kind of regulatory framework, because you're right, during school years, it's rented for like 9 months, and then they have the summer rentals, which are about a week to week. So really, that's a good point. Jay brings, like, Narragansett probably had an Airbnb type of thing long before, because more people rented these little cottages for weeks at a time.
And in actuality, September to May was probably worse behavior-wise than the weekly families that come in. But I don't know, I'm just guessing.
Mike?
No, and I just wanted to say that I do think we need more information. I don't hear anybody weighing one way or the other, and I certainly am kind of neutral on at this point. I can't say whether I think we should do it or not do it. But I do want more information.
I do have to tell you, I have been getting phone calls to my home especially about the Essex. And there is some concerns about having weekly rentals in this area. But I have to tell you, I live right on Stafford Pond, and the houses around here could rent weekly, and I know my neighbors would not like that, to have that constant back and forth of people coming in. And then also you have to keep in mind they're doing it summer-wise. People work during the day, but these people are on vacation. So that you also have to look at. Joe?
Yeah, would it be appropriate to make a motion to have the solicitor and the planner look into this and come back to us at another date with some info?
Sure, and also the town administrator, so he can check with the league, because the league probably could give us some information also.
I'll make that a motion.
Oh, okay,
I'll second it.
Who seconded it, Jay?
Yeah.
I have a motion by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Donna, is that okay with you, since this is your agenda? Do you agree? Any
Well,
discussion?
I would like to be updated on what the solicitor, the planner, and Mr. Carter are doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on an agenda, so I'll either put it on the next one or a month from now, depending, because it's
All
gonna
right, they
take a
could
little
just
time.
update.
Yeah, it's gonna take a
I
little
think
time
it's
for them.
going to be a learning process for all of us. So, and we might decide it's not for us, but I think we just need to look into it.
Right. So what we'll do is, if they're whenever they're ready to come to us with some input, I'll put it on the agenda. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a motion in a second. All those in agreement, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Councilor Edwards, Town
welcome.
Administrator, Annual Evaluation.
My turn in the barrel, huh?
Hmm.
All right, so Chris, town administrator, has been with us for a year. And there's 5 of us that are new to this. We have not evaluated people. So my understanding is that the one person that the town council does evaluate is the town administrator.
Right.
So,
Has it been a year for permanent employment, though? He was here.
yeah, I think so.
Chris.
April 1st?
Oh, I came on April 1st. I don't know if you call it permanent or not. but
No.
It was,
When did we appoint you?
so that would be September.
That's what I
September, wasn't
thought.
it? September.
It hasn't been a year.
Right.
Because he was just
Yeah,
a
so why
temporary.
do it now?
We
He was a-
shouldn't
He
do
was a
it now.
temporary.
Because he was only temporary from April to
Right.
September. So we
Okay,
appointed.
but let me continue because it's still valid.
Okay,
So that answers the first question. When does evaluation need to be done?
In a year.
Okay, who will do it?
We
How
do
is it done? What will be okay, we as the town council. What are the parameters, and is there some sort of standard form that you
Yes.
use?
all right, I can answer all this.
Good.
We do have a standard form. Joan has it because I talked to Joan about this today. We have a standard form that we use for all of the administrators. We all do our individual evaluations.
Individually, okay.
Every counselor is numbered from 1 to 7. These forms are given to the town clerk. And when you evaluate each item, and Joan can send this out so you can all see it, but when you evaluate each item, you number 1 to 5. Needs improvement, not satisfactory, all of that. So then what Joan does, or the town clerk does, is take all these numbers for each item and averages them. So then the town administrator gets an average of his performance according to all 7 of us. So say the first one, we have, some of us did 5, some of us did 3, the average is 4. every single category, you can put your comments. And Chris gets to see all the comments, but he just sees the average of all 7 of us. That's what he sees. Because quite frankly, it gets a little bit, some council will give him a 1 and some will give him a 5. So that's why we average it. And he sees those averages. And then he sees every comment that's written also. What we do is we collect all of these, we give the town clerk a couple of weeks to compile all these, and then we go into executive set. We give it to Chris, he can look at it, look at the comments and answer us back. Does his own self-evaluation according to the comments. And then we go into executive and we have an executive session with the town administrator. And he can ask us questions and back and forth. And that's how we've done it. The form actually, I'll give Joan credit, the form was done by Joan when she was a counselor years ago. And we've been using this form all along. And it just, it evaluates budget, it evaluates his administrative skill with his department heads. It goes through all the categories.
So when he was hired, was he given a set of targets to meet or not? Does that come after the first evaluation?
His targets was get us out of this mess with the state.
Which he has done.
And I'll give him a 5. Okay.
Right here.
Yeah. That is his target, is the charter and the duties in the charter of the town administrator. And if you notice, this form goes with that also.
Okay.
It goes with that also. But I don't think it's due till September, quite frankly.
Okay.
Because it'll be a year as a permanent one. You can't really, I mean, he was here April to September in total chaos. None of you were here for any of that but me, Donna, and Joe. And I think it's only fair that you guys spend more till September with him. And
Well, Deb and I had to deal with him a lot.
yeah, you did, but not as a counselor. So it's different as a counselor.
Not in a bad way.
I mean,
Not
his
in a bad way.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But his duties from
He
last
saved
April,
our bacon.
like, right, his duties from last April in September, I'll tell you, wasn't according to the charter. Like he had to put out fires, and there was other things he didn't get to because he's still putting out fires, quite frankly, with the COVID shots and all of that. So I think over the summer, it'll give us more time. And then we'll probably pass out the evaluation forms in August, Joan, so that you have time to do it. Yes.
Actually, I would recommend sending them out now so that at least they can know what the categories are, what he's being evaluated for, you know, so they can evaluate it by having that information ahead of time and keeping track of all the good things that Chris is doing over the next 6 months.
Ain't bad.
That'd be good.
I'm not
All
perfect.
right. Like some of us know it. I've used it for 8 years now, so I know it, and Donna knows it, and Joe knows it.
Joe knows it.
But it would be a good idea if you all saw it. Yes, Donna.
I was just hoping, Joan, if you could look it over. I found some of the stuff to be redundant. I was just wondering if you kind of look it over. Maybe it doesn't have to be as long as it is. Could you take a look at it?
Actually, I'll take a look at it. The purpose was to identify the part of the charter that's being evaluated, and then following it would be the standard. So what you're expecting is the standard, and then you evaluate
According
basically
to
from the
standard.
according to the standard.
Yeah.
So I can take a look at it. Actually, it's a good idea to pass it out now, and then if other councilors have feedback to streamline it, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
That was good.
All right.
That answers my questions.
Any other questions from anyone? So Joan will get it out to you and you can all look at it. And if you have any feedback, Joan or I, and I'll go over it with you, Joan, so that you don't do it alone. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd also, can I have it electronically also?
Yes. I'm sure we can say, yes, because we
Okay,
get it
thanks.
electronically.
Yes, I'll send it out electronic copy.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Administrator Carter requests permission to advertise and hire a building clerk.
So we're at this again, unfortunately. I'm going to ask you to give me permission to do this, but we won't do it until after we get the final consent from the union, because I believe there may be an internal applicant from ASME that may be interested in this.
Okay.
But I don't want to have to wait 2 more weeks to go through the process. So if I'll work with Joan, and if we get an applicant, we won't do the advertisement. If things don't work out the way that we think, then I'll be back to Joan and say we need to go. But it's Tara is trying to concentrate more of her time on full-time skills to deal with her education. So, and this, I think this job is a little bit too much, maybe. She's more focused on trying to get her education done. So I left us with another void. So this is a tough one.
And then if someone in the union does decide to do this, then we're going to have to advertise for that position. So you'll
Correct.
come back with us either way.
Correct.
All right. So,
Can we make a motion?
yes.
So I move that
Wait a
we,
minute. Update. Yes, go ahead.
I move that we give the town administrator, Chris Carter, permission to advertise and hire a building clerk based on what he just said.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, Jay, that's the first thing to go with old age is the memory.
Oh, that went 10 years ago. And
Okay, so motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. Thank you. Administrator Carter, update on building official and request approval per diem contract.
So currently I have a John Hoyle, who is a certified building official. He has both his certifications. He's willing to provide, he's been providing the services for the last week. And he is agreeable to do it until we go through the hiring process. He does have an interest in applying for the job.
I was just gonna ask that.
He does. He's becoming more and more familiar with Tiverton, but he's very low key. He pretty much knows his business. He came out of the state's Building Code Commission office. He's been a building official in numerous communities over the years. This is far cheaper than what we did with the MMC. And without violating the charter, the only way I could really do this was to do a professional services contract as an interim. And it seems to be working out right now. We do have a lot in the pipeline that needs to be, inspected every day. We got contracts, construction going on. It's we need to have somebody while we're going through the hiring process.
oh,
Any questions? Counselor Perry?
I was going to say, I'll make a motion that we give the administrator permission to approve the per diem contract for the building official.
Yes, so the motion would be to approve the per diem
Deb
contract.
has a question, Denise.
Yep, I just need a second to this.
I'll second.
Okay, go ahead, Deb.
And it's not, it's more a comment. We just seem to be going through these building officials, and I think that there's probably certain times of the year that are just more busy, and I'm just wondering if it's not such an overwhelming position to be in. Is it something that we can look at having some kind of per diem backup when we have the building official in place, and have some kind of backup so that when we get to that point where there's just so much coming in, it just makes for more error. It makes for more delays. I think it gets people who are waiting for permits. They're not getting responded to quick enough. And I think they're just kind of going on their own and doing things. It's just a comment. I know we can't decide on this now, but just trying to keep somebody in the position for, a little longer.
Deb, the last council, well, maybe not this one, but maybe not the last, but the council at one point did identify this. And that's why we hired a part-time zoning official, because sometimes the building official gets tied up with that also. So the part-time zoning official was supposed to take some of the burden away from him. And I just would really like to say for the new building official, they should use him to do some of the zoning issues and not get it as much involved in it. And that's why we hired a part-time zoning official, was to help alleviate some of the problem.
Do you think we're not utilizing the zoning?
I'm not sure, but I hope we are, but I
Yeah.
encourage that we do. Councilor Perry?
Yeah, my question, Madam President, is when these building inspector, the electrical inspector, the plumbing inspector, when they go on vacation, don't we have somebody that fills in for them like a backup?
Yeah, we used to. I'm not sure if we still do. We used to.
Because we could do something like that. We could use somebody in that capacity when we have a dilemma like this, where we have a backup building inspector or a plumbing inspector or something like that.
I will say to find John was a little bit of a difficult job. There are not that many people out there that are willing to do this kind of, in this vein. Most of them are looking for employment versus a contract, but, and I'm not saying that this gives him a head up and he understands that. I did have that discussion with him when I brought him on to do this, that it would be a fair, open and competitive hiring process. But I mean, I was right down to the wire when his name popped up. I mean, we had 3 other people we were interested, but none of them could commit to doing, the volume of work that needs to be done while we're going through this hiring process. So all 3 of the original ones had, just, they couldn't commit. But for actually an old friend of mine who actually was a building official in this town many years ago, he's the one who contacted him and had him refer him to me. So it's not like somebody you can just pull off the shelf is what I'm getting at, unless you go to a firm, which is pretty expensive because they charge you for everything and everything under the sun. It's expensive.
I think at one point we were using another building official from another town to cover vacation.
I did inquire about that, but I couldn't find anybody locally that was not already committed with a bunch of other projects that they were involved with. So that's what the issue was. I couldn't.
And then at one point, there was so many that we sent it to the state and the state helped us for a while.
The state has one because John left.
I will bet you that John probably helped us from the state last year.
He may have.
Yeah.
Didn't we use Little Compton for a little while?
Little Compton, that was a while ago.
Yeah,
that was a few years ago. They have at the time, I think they had a part-timer there and they would cover for vacations here.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not sure that that's still the case.
Okay.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Janet?
Yes.
Councilor Cook?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Perry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Councilor Burke, discussion and possible vote on House Bill resolutions in support of H5258, H5259, H5485.
So this is pretty much a formality. We already voted to support each of these, but we didn't have resolutions to memorialize the details. So before you have a resolution for 2 of the 3, I'm going to ask that we hold, continue the one for 5485 to the next, that's the correct one, right, Michael?
I get I think that's the right number.
Yeah.
Jones, yeah.
Yeah, to the next meeting, because we pulled a template that has nothing to do with that subject matter.
Now, isn't the school committee doing something too with this one?
School committee is reviewing this tomorrow night, I think Joan said earlier.
Okay.
And my assumption, and this is, and I reached out to the School Committee Association and as well as the Superintendent's Association. And, you know, they reminded me that these are bills that Representative Edwards puts forward every year, as well as folks in the Senate for the school committee one, but we can deal with that next week. So 5, I'd make a motion that we approve the resolution for 5258, which is the act that would authorize the Stonebridge Fire District to borrow up to $100,000 in funds to meet specific short-term financial obligations.
I have a second.
Second.
Further discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next one.
And this is the one that allows towns, municipalities to declare park and conservation or other land area in public trust in perpetuity. It does not require, it just allows. And again, we voted to support this last meeting, and this is a resolution that memorializes it. So I make a motion, we approve the resolution on H5259, an act that would create a voluntary mechanism for municipalities to use to dedicate a park, conservation, or other land they own as public trust in perpetuity to protect and preserve its future use.
Second.
I have a motion by Counselor Burke, a second. I'm going to give it to Counselor Vieira. Discussion, Donna?
Yeah. The problem I have with this, Mike, is that it was promised by Representative Edwards that he would send us an amendment so that we would be able to take something out of perpetuity. Right now, there is not. It's final. You can't do anything or change it or use it for something else at the moment. So I don't have an amendment to look at, so I feel very uncomfortable about this right now because I'm missing a part.
So may I suggest that we amend the resolved, the first resolve, the town council of the town of Tiverton supports House Bill 5259, provided that an amendment is made that would allow a municipality to remove a perpetuity status at any future point in time. Would that do it, Donna?
Well, yes, because that's what was promised by Representative Edwards. He knew that that was a problem with this, and he was going to send us the amendment because there's basically no way to get out of this right now.
So is that part of your motion, Mike?
Yeah, so let me just rewrite it real quick. I might.
Guys, I think I've decided I'm going to tape my voice and it's going to go through the roll call. So all I have to do is press a button. I don't have to keep saying it over and over again because I'm sick of hearing myself talk lately.
So, Madam President, I also want to just look real quick. So I know this was heard. Yeah, so it is being held for further study, which often means that they are working on an amended version, and he doesn't have one yet because he did not provide the resolution. Our solicitor worked up the resolution based on our last discussion. So here's what that So you go through the 5 whereases that are before you. And what I'm suggesting is the now therefore be it resolved, the first one, that the town council of the town of Tiverton supports House Bill 5259, provided that legislation is amended to permit any municipality to revoke perpetuity status in the future, and respectfully request the Rhode Island General Assembly enact the bill into law. And then the rest of it
Perfect.
remains the same. Okay.
Thank you.
Mike, can you just send us that language tomorrow, please, so I can?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, I will. I'm just gonna send you that blurb.
Yeah,
not
that's
the whole
fine.
thing.
That's great. I know, I see the clerk is writing it down, so maybe she has it, but we have.
Oh, you
it.
And you sent that in a Word document anyway, right?
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, if you want, you
Yeah,
can just make.
just amend the Word document.
Yeah.
I'll amend the Word document.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so Mike, that is your motion.
Yes, so somebody, if somebody wants a second.
Bill, do you
I'll
second that?
second it.
Okay,
I'm fine with it. Thank you.
okay. Any further discussion? Council Edwards,
Yes.
Council Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Janik,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, Mike, and Mike.
Mhm. It was all Mike's hard work.
Well, thank you. Solicitor Marcello, confirmation of town administrator's decision to waive developmental plan review commercial fee for project on 18 East Road.
So this is pretty self-explanatory. As you know, the development on 18 East Road was given a building permit prior to it going through a commercial development plan review, which it should have, but it didn't. And the person was relying on a validly issued building permit and had begun construction on the second story of the facility. When we learned about it, I had a conference with Jen, the town planner, Chris Cotter, myself, and we talked about ways to mitigate the loss and try to help not only the applicant, but also give the town a little bit more input into the design and see if we could entice them to voluntarily submit to a design review, even though we had a permit. And the carrot that I came up with was to, I recommended to Chris that maybe if we offered to waive the application fee for the design review, which actually was set by the town council at $2,000, he might voluntarily agree to go through the design review process. That actually worked. I asked Chris to waive the fee, which he did, and working with Jen, he just submitted all the paperwork that he needed to do. In fact, it's on the planning board agenda tomorrow for their review. When I spoke to, when in planning the agenda, we had a conversation with the town council president, and she indicated that these fees are normally waived, not only by the administrator, but confirmed by the town council. So that's why we put it up on the agenda.
Yeah, no, past practice, we usually waive fees, and we've done it for different organizations, and we've done this before. So this isn't set. We've done it for Amicable Church, comes to mind as one of them. And the council has waived fees. Usually the administrator asks us to. He reviews it. He says, yes, I think we should waive it. And then we just formalize that. Any discussion? Deb?
So this person does not have to go through the planning process. He's agreed to do that. But
Well,
because he would have had to, correct?
Yeah,
But
had we followed the building official should not have issued the permit without going through the design review process, but there was an error. So the building official did issue the permit. It's my opinion now that he has a valid permit and he relied on that permit. He went forward and got design plans made, architectural plans made, bought material and whatnot, and started construction. When we found out that he didn't go through design review, we kind of asked him to step back voluntarily and let this review process happen, and he agreed to do so. And he sent the town planner a very nice email saying it was never my intent to do something improper, but I thought I was doing everything proper until the town told me that I wasn't. So with that, I just thought, in fairness to him, and as a carrot to get him before the planning board that we would waive that fee.
Keep in mind, the building is up. The building is up.
Well, the structure's up, but not
The
the like the
structure is up.
outside.
Yeah,
right.
the structure is up, and he was allowed to, when the error was discovered, it was the lawyer's, attorney Mike suggested that we let him finish at least making sure that it's watertight.
Right.
Because we didn't want any kind of damage that we'd be liable for because we're stopping this construction. But Deb, you're right. He could not. He has a building permit in his hand. He was already issued it.
Because we had already said, yes, this is.
Right. And I think he's being more than agreeable to come forward and have the planning board look at his design. And I think for that reason, we should waive this. This is different circumstances than usual.
Yep.
Anyone else want to say anything? All right, so I'm entertaining a motion to waive the planning board fees for developmental plan, wait a minute, to waive the developmental plan review commercial fee for the project on 18 East Road.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Vieira,
Yes.
Counselor Janik,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Moving on. Solicitor Marcello, discussion on need for an ordinance allowing the planning board to adopt, modify, and amend local land development regulations pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 45-2351.
So, as you know, the planning board has been working diligently over the last several months in updating their land use regulations. And part of my job is to review those land use regulations to make sure they're consistent with Rhode Island law and the planning board, the Rhode Island planning board statutes. And in doing so, I found a statute that said that the city or town council shall empower by ordinance the planning board to adopt, modify, and amend regulations and rules governing land development and subdivision projects within the community. I didn't see an ordinance that actually delegated that power to the planning board locally. So this is kind of like a housekeeping thing that I think we probably should have an ordinance delegating this power to the planning board officially, so that there's no question that any regulations that they pass is pursuant to the statute and conforms with the requirements of the statute. So what I'm asking is that I'll draft an ordinance, basically kind of almost mirroring state law, and maybe have some other provisions in there depending on what the council wants, but pretty much delegating the power to them, and laying out the process that they should follow when adopting rules and regulations. Right now, they have to go through a public hearing requirement as well. So we can't change that, but that.
And I also think that we should address that they're changing this yearly, and it's kind of causing some confusion with contractors that are in the process of learning our rules and regulations, and they change yearly. Some communities, it's every 2 years. And I think we might want to look at the time span where they can change. Now, keep in mind, we don't approve their regulations, but I also think in the ordinance, they should have some kind of town council input. They don't have to listen to us, but we should be aware of the changes and of the restrictions, or what they're permitting or not permitting, and give them some kind of input, because quite frankly, I get a lot of complaints in my house with some of these regulations, and I don't know them very well. So I think if they came to us with it and we just reviewed it, we gave our opinion on it, do they have to take it? No, but they might, and might give them another thought process on what we're thinking sometimes with these regulations. And I think that would be helpful too. Jay?
So basically what we're doing here is allowing the planning board to adopt, to amend our ordinances as the Rhode Island general laws evolve?
No,
No.
they're not amending our ordinances. Mike, do you want to explain
Yeah,
it?
so the state law regarding land development delegates the power of enforcing the state development law to planning boards, directly to planning boards. And in that power, they have the power to write regulations to implement the state law, not inconsistent with state law. So they have done that. Planning boards have done that, and our planning board has done that. What the statute requires is that when they do make regulations, that they do so by an ordinance. In other words, we officially have to give them that power. We haven't done that yet, even though they've been acting as if they've been doing that. It's not any fault of their own. This was just probably just an administrative error that was never really caught. So we're just going to clarify that, yes, we're going to give the planning board the power to do this, but we can add in some safeguards like I did when I brought this up to the council president during our agenda review, because I brought this to her attention during the agenda review that I wanted to see how they wanted to deal with it. She suggested that perhaps like one of the requirements was that when they do want to adopt regulations, that they give a full copy to the town council at least 30 days before the adoption, so you guys have an opportunity to comment on it and give your written comments. So it's kind of just being more transparent and open about the process and giving you a more not more of a say, but more of a direct input into it. Just much like when the town council adopts a zoning ordinance, the statute requires that the town council get their opinion of the planning board before they adopt the zoning ordinance. So this is basically one of the things that can be put in here is that before the planning board adopts an ordinance, the regulation, the town council will be given an opportunity to weigh in on their opinion as to whether the regulation is good or bad or needed or changed or whatever. So I don't know if Jen wants to add anything, Chris.
And I think
that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's helpful because let's face it, we're all a team and we all hear from different residents. So sometimes we may have an opinion that they've never heard before, and maybe we could put some input and help them to make this more user-friendly and encourage more businesses to come here. Because we do get input from businesses, we do get input from contractors, and I think it may just help because we're all a team and we all want to do what's best. And we all hear different opinions, we all get telephone calls. So I think it would be prudent to do that. Anyone have any other suggestions? So we'll have Mike write up the ordinance and we'll put it on the next agenda and then we'll go forward from there. We'll have to have a public hearing anyway, correct?
Yeah, there would be, yep.
Yes, and at that public hearing, the planning board can certainly put their input to our ordinance also. And of course, that'll be allowable. Councilor Clerk?
So, they're already doing this? I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah.
Yes, they're already doing it, Donna. They do it yearly now, and they write it themselves. But my question is whether or not yearly, or it should be every 2 years, so that things don't change every year. And also, I think that in this ordinance, like I said, council input, because we don't have any input in this currently.
How is it done in Mike, Mr. Marcello? How is it done by everyone else? Because ours are appointed, they're not elected.
The planning board, you mean? Yeah, most planning boards are appointed in the state. I think there's only one community that elects their planning board. It's I think it's Hopkins or Charlestown.
Okay.
So Don, if you look at and Janet's probably more conversant than these, but if you go to the town's website, there's the planning board rules and regulations, And those are promulgated and adopted by the planning board about how to, what documents are necessary to get master plan approval, what documents, to go to the next step, and all, and those, it's kind of laid out there, and what they require and whatnot. And so it's, it's a way of guiding applicants through the process that's set forth by state law. Now, the rules and regulations can't be inconsistent with state law. They have to be consistent with state law. So that's an automatic check. Really, this is kind of a housekeeping thing. I was surprised. Frankly, I didn't even know about this provision when I was reading it, and when I was surprised to see that this provision. So I said, "Oh, this is interesting. Let's see if we have an ordinance on the books that delegates this power to because the statute says the city or town council shall empower by ordinance the planning board to adopt." And we don't have such an ordinance that I could find.
No, we don't. We don't.
Okay.
Any other suggestions? Okay, so I guess,
I'll draft something up for the council to review, maybe at this next meeting, and then we can.
do I need a motion for you to do that, or?
No, I was just looking for guidance, like much like I was looking for some guidance on the other ordinance that we talked about.
All
If
right.
anybody has anything you think of after this, you can email me.
Oh, okay.
And I'll reach out to the planning board chair to see if she has any suggestions as well.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, announcements, comments, and discussions. Clerk Shabbat, ethics training for appointed elected officials and town employees is scheduled for Tuesday, April 27th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Joan?
Yes, I worked with the town administrator, reached out to the Lynn Radish, I believe the last name is, and we've scheduled it for Tuesday, April 27th at 7 p.m. It will be a Zoom meeting. So I will set up an agenda for that to include the town council. And we will notify boards and commissions, employees and appointed officials.
Yeah, the same that we did with the last one.
Yep.
The last training seminar we did.
Yeah, and I would expect it to be recorded so that in case people miss it, then we'll have a recording of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I only have one. It's probably, well, it's an announcement. I'd like to thank all the volunteers that went down to Fogland this weekend to refurnish or whatever they did to the picnic tables. They're all over Facebook. They came out very, very nice. And I want to thank everyone. I know it's hard work. And this is what volunteering is all about. And we're really lucky to have all of you do that for us. And Councilor Perry was there also. I think I saw you with a hammer, Joe.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
We only did a few.
I know you're not done, but I really appreciate everyone's efforts, and I know what it takes to do this, and I just want to thank everyone.
Denise, who organized that?
I think it was the recreation department, the recreation committee.
I didn't get the memo.
No, I didn't get the memo either. I would have liked to go down, but
Yeah, I would have gone. Joe, are you going to do it again?
Oh yeah, we're going to do it. We're doing 20 tables altogether. We've done 4 or 5 so far. It's a pretty extensive. But I will make sure I let you know when we do it again. We might do it Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looked like you're hammering your thumb too.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm definitely up for it.
Well, it
All right,
always
we'll let you know.
amazes me, and Joe and I were very involved with Tricia with the Grinnell's Beach, and the amount of people that come and help us and do really hard work. I just love that about Tiverton, that when we ask for it, we get it. So all these volunteers, and thanks to everybody. Bill, did you have your hand up?
Nice job, Joe, and everyone who was involved. And if that's it, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and get some barbecue.
Do I, anything else? Nope.
We can't have a fire on the beach at Fogland, so you can't have
got a permit for that barbecue?
Do I have a second to the adjournment?
Second.
All those in favor, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Janik?
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And I just want to remind all the counselors, there's a meeting next Monday at 7 o'clock, a budget
And-
meeting again.
And thanks to Chris Carter for finding the funds for us to do this.
Oh,